Paloma, let me begin with you. You're a lawyer who leads youth activists and climate activists in Brazil, many of whom are on the front lines of this climate emergency. Why is this issue so urgent to you, and what is your ask of world leaders?
Well, thank you, Mr. Secretary General, for getting all of us here together. Yes, my name is Paloma Costa, and I am from Brazil. I am a social environmentalist defender, a bicycle activist, a climate educator, and a youth mobilizer. I have witnessed how indigenous, traditional communities, and other minority groups are being impacted by the climate crisis. You know, back in Brazil, a great indigenous leader recently said that indigenous people have been resisting since the beginning. What about us? Are we going to be able to resist? Well, youth are mobilized. We are not going to work with industries that deforestate. We are not going to be silent. We have already changed our habits, and you are not following us. Indigenous people have all of this knowledge and connection with our earth, and we still fail to listen to them. But they unite themselves to protect their territory. Why can't we do the same to protect our home? In the past few weeks, the world watched the Amazon fires with horror. I saw the whole world praying for our forests and our indigenous people fighting for survival. We don't need praying, we need acting. And the response we've seen is not enough. So I ask myself, do we need to see the Amazon burn to start doing something? I don't think so. Since my first climate strike with Greta here at COP24, 500 million trees have been destroyed in the Amazon. And people still come to me and ask if I am afraid to defend our forests. Well, as environmental defenders are in great risk, I would like to say that I am not afraid. I am afraid of dying by the climate crisis. We are living through a climate emergency, and it is affecting our food security, our health, our lives. And we have the solutions for both resiliency and mitigation. We live now in a world divided, while we have here the greatest brands. There are still people outside here and inside here as well asking themselves if the climate crisis is real or not. Well, it is. The Secretary General, he challenged the whole world. And I've been working closely with the UN to help build the Youth Climate Summit last Saturday with the Youth Working Group. I know everyone here is ready. I know that. Will you stop the talk so we can turn solutions into actionable commitments? Or should we wait until next year when we gather here together again? Well, if I want to ask something from our leaders, I will probably say that I want all nations to declare a climate emergency. So this will start being the #1 agenda for all leaders. My demand here is not a mere symbolic declaration, but a genuine commitment to the environment and to regional and traditional people who have protected the environment for centuries and are still being oppressed. I will keep educating youth, defending human and environmental rights, listening to my fellow youth and indigenous people here, to build the climate agenda in Brazil with no excuses. So I don't want to hear excuses here. Now it's your turn to make history and take urgent action to guarantee a safe future for all of us. Let's do this together. We are here now. It's our time. Thank you.
Thank you, Paloma. Anurag, at the Youth Climate Summit on Saturday, you were selected as the winner of the Young Entrepreneurs Competition. Congratulations. Can you tell us more about what you're doing as an innovator to combat the climate crisis, and what do you think world leaders can do to support young entrepreneurs like yourself?
Hello, I'm Anurag, originally from India, and an entrepreneur currently based out of Singapore. And thank you for having me here today. Thank you for turning up here today. Like Paloma just said, it is true that we are in a climate emergency, and we, the youth, we are caught in the middle. But fortunately for us, the youth are also the ones who are building the solutions to a lot of the climate change problems. Following a call by the SG's Office of Youth Envoy and the Office of Information and Communications Technology, during this last summer, my team and I, we worked on building a platform that allows farmers in remote communities of Africa who do not have a smartphone or who do not have internet to access high-quality weather updates. They need this because their economy is based on agriculture, and without these updates, this information, they can no longer survive because climate change has put them in a position where their agriculture is completely affected. Now, entrepreneurship and technological innovation, these are going to be the two major pillars if we are to build climate-resilient systems, if we are to fight climate change without relying solely on government policy. Which is why it is important that the governments involve and incentivize the youth. And they bring out the innovators, they bring out the entrepreneurs, and we do the best that we can to bridge the digital divide. Like we already know, the technology is on the side of the youth, but not everybody has access to it. And the ones who don't have access to it are the ones most affected by climate change, the ones most vulnerable to the world. Now, my message to the leaders out here today, my message as a young entrepreneur, is that we are expecting support. We have had enough of action plans, enough of policies, enough of statements, commitments. What we need right now is we need active support. And by active support, what we mean is that we entrepreneurs, when we start a company, we need tax breaks. We need you to support us by streamlining processes. Starting a business is so difficult right now. Why? We need ease of doing business. We need startup grants. And this is what the youth are expecting. These young people, they're risking their careers, they're risking their stable jobs, all to build solutions that can save the planet Earth. And as the leaders of the world, the least that you guys can do is provide them with a conducive platform, a platform that helps them scale their solutions. And I don't think there's a lot to ask, right? That's the least that you can do. And when we are here today to support the youth and innovation and entrepreneurship. So let's come together and ensure that we do all that we can to support these young kids, I'm one of them, to build solutions that can save the earth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anurag. Greta, your first climate strike was a lonely event a little over a year ago. And in the intervening time, you have sparked the interest of millions, literally, of children around the globe, demanding action for climate change. What's your message to world leaders today?
My message is that we'll be watching you. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight. You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe. The popular idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. 50% may be acceptable to you, but those numbers do not include tipping points, most feedback loops, additional warming hidden by toxic air pollution, or the aspects of equity and climate justice. They also rely on my generation sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us, we who have to live with the consequences. To have a 67% chance of staying below a 1.5 degrees of global temperature rise, the best odds given by the IPCC, the world had 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit back on January 1st, 2018. Today that figure is already down to less than 350 gigatons. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank our three distinguished guests of this morning very much for their very eloquent testimony, and to say that what is amazing in today's youth movement is not only that they are living the gaining of conscience, the raising of awareness, making sure that the whole world becomes committed to climate action, but that they are also on the ground working to provide solutions. And we heard testimonies that are very important about what young people are doing to do what needs to be done in order for climate action to be rooted in the action across the world. And so I believe it's the duty of all decision makers in the world not only to listen to the voice of young people and to do what they ask us to do, but also to support them in their own action for climate action around the world. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary General, and for your powerful remarks. Thank you, Anurag, and Paloma, and Greta. Thank you so much. And now I'd like you to watch a personal message by His Holiness Pope Francis.
La cumbre sobre la acción climática ONU 2019. Quisiera dar las gracias al secretario general de las Naciones Unidas, el señor Antonio Guterres, por la convocatoria de este encuentro, así como por haber atraído la atención de los jefes de Estado y de Gobierno, de toda la comunidad internacional y de la opinión pública mundial, sobre uno de los fenómenos más graves y preocupantes que está viviendo nuestra época, el cambio climático. Se trata de uno de los principales desafíos que debemos afrontar, y para ello la humanidad está llamada a cultivar tres grandes cualidades morales: honestidad, responsabilidad y valentía. Con el Acuerdo de París del 12 de diciembre de 2015, la comunidad internacional tomó conciencia de la urgencia y necesidad de dar una respuesta colectiva para colaborar en la construcción de nuestra casa común. Sin embargo, pasados 4 años de aquel acuerdo histórico, se observa cómo los compromisos contraídos por los Estados todavía son muy flojos y están lejos de alcanzar los objetivos previstos. Junto a tantas iniciativas, no solo por parte de los gobiernos, sino de toda la sociedad civil, es necesario preguntarse si existe una verdadera voluntad política para destinar mayores recursos humanos, financieros y tecnológicos a fin de mitigar los efectos negativos del cambio climático y ayudar a las poblaciones más pobres y vulnerables, que son las que más lo sufren. Aunque la situación no es buena y el planeta sufre, la ventana para una oportunidad está